Well, here we are again, folks. This is Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. So proud to be with you today. We're going to talk a little bit about something that human beings of all ages, all types, all people, men, women, boys, girls, everybody has a problem with. And that is judging situations or people or things other than themselves outside of the Word of God. But when you judge, the Bible said make a righteous judgment. Don't judge without being a righteous judgment. In the book of John, he talks about judging. We're not to tolerate sin, that's right. But we're also not to judge what is a sin or the level of sin in another person as a judge. If we see a person in a sin, or what we would think is a sin might not be a sin to them. You know what makes a sin to a man? Conviction. When a man's convicted, then he is convicted that it's a sin. Then it's a sin. Until he's convicted, he perhaps is covered by the blood of Christ in a manner that says, you can go and get away with that right now. I'll deal with you later. But that's not for you right to judge. What are we supposed to do? We're supposed to love the person and overlook whatever that is that we would consider a sin. When a brother or sister in Christ gets out of the will of God and falls out of the will of God, we have many in our fellowship, our church right now, in our fellowship, we have many that are outside of the will of God. If God put you in a church and you leave that church for any reason other than God saying to you, I've got to work for you over here, get in it and do it, then you're okay. But if you leave it because you don't like what the preacher said, or you don't like that this guy in front of you picks his nose during church, or you don't like the fact somebody's got a baby 3 pews down and won't put it in the nursery and disturbs the whole service, or you don't like the fact of the way somebody dresses, or you don't like the fact that you know there's a person sitting there today that's going to be in a beer joint tomorrow. Who made you the judge? Who made you the judge? If you're going to be the judge, you're going to be one unhappy person. And you are going to be the wrong one, not those that are troubling you. The trouble's with you, not with them. What can you do? Move to the front pew. Move down to the front pew. I've seen people, I have seen them walk out of the church never to return because of something they didn't like, that they weren't willing to correct their own self by changing their position. You can change your position and change your disposition by changing your position. Yes, it's tough to sit all the way where I am. I take care of the balcony of my church. And where I sit, I see everything. I see many people walk in the doors of the church and not hear one single solitary word the preacher says. Not one. You could ask them after the service, what did that preacher say this morning? They couldn't even tell you what song we sang. Why? They're on their phones. They're jabbering with each other. They're still doing the things of the world. Some are still discussing a football, basketball game. Some are still discussing the fish. Some are still discussing where they put their tree stand and the hunting. Some are still discussing work. Some are still discussing this or that. A woman and a man still feuding. And won't even speak to each other, all puffed up. And their ears are shut off. Shut completely off. And they don't hear a word the preacher said. Yet they sat through the whole service. And then got up, and as they left the door and they shook your hand, they said, I think you ought to do something about them people down there, about 3 pews in front of me. Oh, is that so? What did the preacher preach this morning? I don't know. They were making such a ruckus down there. I was watching them. I wasn't listening to the preacher. Well, if that's your problem, you need to move. You need to move your position. You need to move your position in your heart with God. And you need to pray for them. And if you're any kind of Christian man at all, and you know that this is interrupting more than you in the service, you need to slide in beside those folks and say, hey, let me tell you a little something. During the service, your actions is causing a lot of people to not be able to watch the preacher or hear the preacher. Do you do that, Brother Peter? I've had to do it more than once and do it often. Had to do it a couple of weeks ago with a young boy and girl who were playing handsies during church. And slide him aside and say, hey, look, would you guys do me a favor? If for God's sake, that you're doing it, not just for me, but God would not have you doing what you're doing during church. He would not have you doing what you're doing not during church. And so, therefore, you need to not do that anymore. And you know what? It ended the situation. I gave him a piece of gum and said, I love you. I appreciate you coming. But you got to watch your actions. You know what? They've watched their actions. And they're still coming. And they're doing very good. The boys behind me, they're talking foolish. They're good Christian boys. They came through my Sunday school class. They're hanging in there. They're following God to the best of their ability in a tough, tough world. Every now and then, though, you have to speak to them. Hey, boys, now, you got to do away with the foolishness right now. You got to calm down and be quiet. They're 4 of the best boys in the church. You say, well, what's the deal? They're boys. That's what the deal is. They're boys. And their attention span is shorter than the man sometimes. And the depth of a sermon, the depth of the preacher's sermons, if they're pretty deep sermons, there are a lot of people don't get deep sermons. They only get what's lightweight, like a Sunday school class teaching. They get the lightweight, but they don't get the depth when you go in deep. That's deep water fishing's for the real fisherman. For the guy that's just now learning how to fish, he's not going to know how to catch a deep water fish. So that's the way it is. Little children. Being to God's will. Don't talk about people. Talk to the people. You see something in a man's life that's going to be a problem for him, go talk to him. Say, hey, brother, you know I love you. Yeah? Can I stick my nose in your business a little bit? How about that? He's going to say yes or no. This little situation that I see going on right here, I believe you need to end it. I believe you need to end this little situation because it's going to ruin you. And not only ruin you, it'll ruin your family. It'll ruin your testimony. It'll ruin everything if you continue in it. I love you. I just wanted to tell you that. Have you done it, Brother Peter? Many times. I've done it many times. And it helped some people. And somebody did that with me. I've had people do that with me in my life, my Christian life. I entered into some things that people said, hey, you keep going that way, Brother Peter. My preacher told me, so don't you dare take on a partner that you don't know 100% for sure is in the church, he's saved, he's a tither, and everything. And I said, okay. I went right out there and took a partner on and found out he was a dope addict. And had to give him half of everything I had earned in my life in order to get split with him. And that happens. Love is an attitude. Love is an attitude, And it will bring forth an attribute. An attribute of love, it will be to chide people, not talk about them. To find out what the problem is. And continue in love with them. Loving them gives them the proper way to get out of their problem. If you talk about them and they hear about it, you are a stumbling block. Do never, never say anything derogatory about a person. And don't say things derogatory about a person. Therefore, if a person is in what you think would be a sinful situation, try to help them out of it. Try to help them out of it. Do you know that sometimes a $5 bill would keep a man from stealing something? Did you know just small things make a big difference in a person's life? Some little bitty thing. Just a touch of love that's not offensive, that it will bring them out of their place of stumbling. Sin's always wrong. And sin will always take you out of the realm of the will of God. And so therefore, if you're in it yourself, isn't it nice when somebody comes and tells you? You say you didn't like it? No, I didn't like it. No, I've had some people tell me some stuff I didn't like. But you know what? They told me the truth. And I had to get rid of that. I had to get out of me what I had in me. And they helped me out and helped me to stay in the church. Why Peter? People ask me, say, how come you don't come visit my church? How come you haven't come visit us? God put me where He put me. He hasn't gave me permission. I'm at the point in my life where I don't even visit a church. If we're not having church, I don't visit another church. Why? Because I don't want anybody to say, must be something wrong with Peter, he's visiting over here. No, there's nothing wrong with me. I like to go fellowship. I like to fellowship with other Christians. But I have found in my own town you can't do it because there's so many church hoppers and people jumping from church to church that if you do it, you get classified immediately as a church hopper. Or you're not happy in your church and you're looking for something. No, I'm not looking for something. I like to go fellowship with other people. But today is almost impossible to do. Why? We have churches full of judges. Our churches are slap full of people who are judging every action, everything you do. And so therefore we have to be careful. And this walking in love does not mean that we accept the sin, but means that we help the person that is in the sin out of their stumbling, out of their offense, and how to walk and provoke them in an easy way, not being envious, not being driven with our accusations, not being in disagreement in such a manner that they leave the church, but to chide them to change their actions. Say, I've had some things go on right before my eyes that I didn't see. Had I seen them, I might have could have helped those folks. If I had seen them, I might have could have helped them. But not seeing it, I didn't know because it was so far under the covers, I didn't see it. And they end up with a busted up life. And their life's going to be busted up until they go to heaven. It will never, you can do things on this earth that will never, ever afford you to live it down. You'll always have this awful feeling of this thing that you did that caused you, if it busted your family up, it busted another person's family up. And there are things God will forgive, but these are hard things to live with personally. You've really got to fight the rigors and to serve God if you're in that kind of position. So be careful you don't get there. don't fall for a type of compromise. Paul taught this. If it isn't wrong, but it may cause a weaker child of God to stumble, don't do it. Am I right and be wrong? I don't go to the movie hall. I say I don't. I've been a couple of times in the last 30 years. Very, very, very uncomfortable both times. To see what was classified as a movie that would fall down on the side of a Christian. And it was good. It was just the atmosphere that it was being shown in, the place it was. And being raised by a father who felt like that the movie hall was a den of sin, just like a beer joint to him, we have shied away from it because we've been taught to do that. Just like I was taught to wear a necktie. If I'm an ambassador for Jesus Christ, I wear a necktie. And if you're an ambassador for Jesus Christ, you don't go to the beer joint. And if you're an ambassador for Jesus Christ, my father believed you didn't go to the movie hall. The things that take place in movie halls today, complete degradation. I'm amazed sometimes that God doesn't just come down and boom, destroy the whole place for what goes on. Anyway, always choose the side of mercy. Always remember the mercy of God on you, and always use mercy with one of those around you, whatever the case be. Here's a guy, he was a thief, and he got saved. And he has a weak moment in his life, and he steals a car, and he goes to jail. Are you going to go down and visit him in condemnation? Or are you going to go down and say, hey, bro, I understand you fell off the wagon here and stole a car. Yeah, Brother Peter. You know, that used to be my life. And this opportunity arose, and it's a weak moment in my life, and I stole the car. Well, I said, you know, God will forgive you. You're still going to have to pay the penalty. If I can help you anyway, let me know. I'll bring you a Bible. You're probably going to have to serve some time. I'll bring you a Bible down. I'll bring you some lessons. You can become a Bible teacher in the jailhouse. How about that? It sounds good, Brother Peter. I'd like that. And so I follow through with that. And the man's in the jailhouse. When he gets back out, he'll probably never steal another car. He'll probably never fall into that trap again. But the other way I could have handled it and said, yeah, I've been expecting that, and I've been watching for that. I figured he'd do that again. I figured he didn't really mean it when he got saved. I figured this, I figured that. You better be careful how you figure. Because most of the time my figuring is wrong. That boy really got saved. Yes, he really stole the car in a weak moment. He's still in the flesh. And he's not going to be perfect. And who's to say that him stealing that car is any worse than you as a Christian stealing a pack of gum? Or any other little thing you might pick up. What is the difference? Stealing. Whether it be a penny or $1 million. I stayed with a man one time when I was a young man who said to me, he said, if you're going to steal something, make it worth your while. Because if you go to jail for something, you might as well go to jail for something worth your while than some foolish little thing. So, and that was his philosophy in life. Sin is a transgression of the law. You don't have to be a thief to transgress against the law. All you have to do is not follow through with a command. Sin is coming short of the glory of God. That's what sin is, coming short of the glory of God. And that sin can be after you're saved. The penalty is different than before you're saved. Before you're saved, you're under condemnation for everything. There is a sin of rebellion against God. And we can rebel against God after we're saved, and we'll pay for that rebellion. It's a type of separation. Sin is unbelief. It makes God a liar. 1 John 1:5 says, let every man be a liar, and God be the truth. He's the righteous one. And the fifth thing, sin is going your own way. It's planning your own life according to your own will, without seeking the will of God. All unrighteousness is sin. Wow. Sin is a folly. Sin is a deceiver. It will deceive you into believing that you're all right when you're not. So you need to be careful of that. Whosoever is born of God doth not commit sin. For his seed remaineth in him, and he cannot sin because he is born of God. Darkness cannot come into light. You really have to study that verse in the light that it's written in to decide what is and what is not a sin in your Christian life. If it separates you from God, if it's unpleasing to God, then you probably shouldn't do it. If it gives you problems afterwards, you probably shouldn't be involved in it. I've done many, many things since I've been saved that gave me problems afterwards. I prayed about things, felt like God said this is the answer. I went that way for a matter of even 2 years or 3 years. At the end of 2 or 3 years, God showed me, you missed the mark, Peter. This was not the road I had intended for you to go down. You're on it, and my mercy and my grace is going to carry you through it. But you're going to come out broke, cold, and indifferent because my blessing's not on it. I've worked 2 or 3 years hard in a fever, fulfilling a signature on a piece of paper with a large contract, turning thousands of dollars, only to have the man at the end of the job beat me out of my money. I had this bad failure in my life that I worked for 2 or 3 companies in my life for a matter of as much as 10, 11 years. And at the end of those, fulfilling my part of my duty and doing it properly, at the end of those get beat out of the money they owed me. These great wealthy people that build high-rises and do things like that, they plan on beating the little man. And I've got beat. And I don't resent them. You know what I do? I blame myself that I missed what God had for me. And I went that way. And I missed something that God had for me other than that. And so we're alive and we're going on. And God has provided and has gave us a comfortable, fairly comfortable retirement, even though we're still working every day in order to meet the needs. And God would have us do that. And He would have you do that. If you're saved, you need to be a working man. If you're saved, the only person you need to judge is yourself. This excerpt I'm doing right here is who's the judge? And God needs to be your judge, and you need to understand that you need to hear what God said. You need to be in His Bible. You need to be in 1 John, that you won't have any compromise in your life. You'll always choose the mercy of God. You're going to sin. And when you do, God, I need your mercy. Grace first, mercy second. These are twins. Grace and mercy always come together. Sometimes grace comes after mercy. Sometimes grace comes before mercy. But when you see it, you see it. And we need it. Those who are characterized by the life that they live, if they're characterized as a Christian, more than likely they're living what they're supposed to. If they're not characterized as a Christian, there is a problem. There's some blindness. There's some dark. There's some compromise. There's some problem. What do you need to do about that? You need to find out what it is. Find out what it is in your life that's causing you to have to call daily on the mercy of God for some situation. Hey, you know, most people can't see their own wrong. I didn't see my own wrong in a lot of things that I've done in my life. I didn't see the wrong in it until afterwards. And then I said, I went the wrong way. God had a better way, an easier way, or an easier life, or something easier. Well, I don't know, but because of the things I came through, I've got some children that are better for it. They've seen where not to go. They've seen what not to do. They saw their daddy do foolishly and lose his shirt and let others beat him out of it. So, what does a person need that's in the same situation you've been in? He needs love. We're talking about how do you judge the matter? You judge the matter that the man needs love. He's got a little problem. He needs love. He's in the church, yes. So he went out and got drunk. So are you going to go over there and tell him, hey, look, we've talked about it and decided that we don't think you probably ought to come back to our church anymore. Wow. Did you just seal that guy to never being able again to fellowship or be right with God or right with man or anything? To go off the deep end because of what you did? No. Your duty is to go over to that man and say, hey, I heard you had a little bit of problem. He said, yes, sir. Well, I want you to know I love you. And we all got problems and we all have things happen to us. And I forgive you and the church forgives you. And we want you to come back. Sit in the pew you belong in. Get in the Sunday school class you were in. And get things back right with the Lord. You can do what you want. If you want to go down in front of the church and say, hey, I sinned and I'm back. I want y'all to forgive me. But if you get with a group and you talk about that person and it gets back to that person, you have done great damage to God's work. You've done great damage to the church. You've done great damage to the kingdom of God. And you've done great damage to your own testimony. Help a brother. If you see a brother in need or a fault, help that brother. Help that brother. Judge it in the mirror. Look at yourself and make your judgment in the mirror. If it were me, what would I want? And you do that. And you go on and help that brother. Hey, you're going to be responsible, just like I am. You got a brother outside. You need to find everybody that's outside of your church that their name is on your church roll. You need to find them and tell them, say, hey, bro, you going to church anywhere? If they say yes, are you happy? Are you following the Lord? Yes, if they are, good. Leave them alone. But if they're not, get them back where they belong. Restore them. Be a proper judge. Be a good judge. Be a judge that judges the matter from the same standpoint. If it were you, what would you like? Don't say, well, oh, Joe, he used to be in here. Now he's all there. He's a drunk out there and everything. No, you go talk to him. You go help him out. If he needs food, carry him some food. If he needs $1 or two, give him $1 or two. You say, well, what if he buys beer or cigarettes? That's not your problem. God will deal with the man on that. But if you need to help him out, help him out. And then God will help him out. I've had people come back and apologize to me and say, hey, you know that money you gave me, I bought beer with it. And I say, so what? Did you learn a lesson from it? Yes. It wasn't right. Well, good. I forgive you, and that's okay. Let's go on. Do you need $10 more? Let's do it right. fellas, let's do it right. Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, young men, old men, in-between men, Sunday school students, 5th grade to high school. Let's do it right. Let's judge in the mirror, looking in the mirror, and judge the situation the way it ought to be judged. See you next time.